Welcome back, viewers. So now we have seen the relevance of network science and the graph modeling in context of the different real world graph types. Now let's understand how network science methodologies and techniques can be utilized for sustainable development goals. So earlier we have seen that there are 17 sustainable goals as given by the United Nations. So let's take up the goals one by one and see how we can utilize the network science technologies to address those problems in that specific goal, on that specific domain. So the first one is no poverty. So here we can analyze the social physical networks and try to identify which are the section of the vulnerable population that are under the poverty line, and can we provide those people with optimized resources. Can we allocate to them, can we reach to them through different channels, and hence the problem of poverty can be addressed. Next is the economic networks. In the economic networks, there are certain poverty traps. So, if we analyze such networks, we can identify those traps and try to develop strategies to break them. Another such goal, the second one, is zero hunger. In zero hunger, network analysis can once again help us to optimize the food distribution network, how to minimize the waste and how to cater to these deprived regions where the distribution network optimization can be performed. Third one is good health and well-being. So here we can model the disease spread network and try to understand how the disease outbreaks or pandemics that we have seen as corona, can we analyze the network of a particular person and find out how many people associated with that person can get this particular infectious disease. So there was a lot of research done in this particular area where tracing networks were formed for each individual who were coming from outside the country or from the airways more specifically. So analyzing those tracing networks, one were able to see that what was the spread of the disease in a particular area wherever that person visited. Then there can be these delivery networks associated with the healthcare. We call them patient referral networks. So studying these referral networks, it helps the healthcare professionals to improve their own collaboration and also to have good feedbacks from the patients regarding their improvement in the health or something that is associated with the healthcare delivery. Next is gender equality. So there are certain social, physical and professional networks that are there that can be studied to identify the gender disparities. Even we can use the network science techniques to reveal the patterns in which we can understand how the segregation of the gender, work division, etc. are done in the workplaces. So these can be helped the people to understand and address the problems associated with this goal. Next is very important, the quality education. So whenever we call network, it is not always in the virtual space. It can be in the physical world. For example, the social networks within the classroom. If we are studying that, for example, as a tutor, if one is looking into these kind of classroom networks, where the students may be submitting their assignments, some may be submitting their assignments timely, maybe interacting with each other, responding in the classes. So if we build up a network like this, then we can analyze that are there some students who need help, or in form of some extra classes. Can we find out the slow learners by analyzing these kind of networks? So this may improve in turn the quality of the education. Also, there can be the collaboration networks. As we have the networks of the students in a classroom, we can have the collaboration networks also. So for example, LinkedIn, it maintains such kind of research collaboration networks. So analyzing them, we can find out that who are the researchers who are working in a specific area, who are actively working in a specific area, or you can say who are more into practice of programming and all, who are more into field works. So these kind of analysis can be done through the collaboration networks. Then comes the next SDG goal, that is concerned with clean water and sanitation. Now here the knowledge of water supply is very important. So whenever we are addressing a particular domain, it should be the strategy of analyzing the problem should be in a way that you must be knowing the network science methodologies and also the domain related knowledge. So since here the domain is clean water and sanitation, so the knowledge of how the water supply is being done, what are the distribution networks, whether there are some ways to optimize the water usage. So all these becomes the knowledge of the domain expert. Now as a network scientist, what we can do is we can analyze those distribution network and try to optimize its usage, or find out what are the bottlenecks in those networks, or whether there are some maintenance required in a kind, you can say in a part of the network and all. So we can also monitor the water quality and all to prevent the failures. Next is affordable and clean energy. So here network science can be helpful to enhance the design and management of the energy grids. So there could be energy distribution networks, and one involved in this kind of research may try to integrate the renewable energy resources and try to reach out to the deprived section where the energy should be delivered in form of power. Then there is decent work and economic growth. So there are data, the network data more specifically for the labor market, that can help the employers or the recruiters to find who are the job seekers. And the job seekers also will get to know what are the trends in the technology that is going on, so where they should apply. So there will be a perfect matching between the job seekers and the employers. So this is very much that comes into the domain of the network science. Similarly, for the goal of industry innovation and infrastructure, there could be networks of the suppliers, of the business, of the commerce, to understand the market dynamics. Financial and economic network analysis also can be done to reduce the economic disparities by identifying if there are some kind of patterns of wealth accumulation. So there could be a even distribution of the wealth. If such patterns are found out, then solutions can be taken to uniformly distribute the wealth. Then there are sustainable cities and communications. So here the transportation based networks can be taken into consideration, and by analyzing these kind of networks we can find those, particularly those hotspot areas where there are chances of more congestion. Okay, so whether the administration they want to have more alternate routes or something, so these kind of decision making can be done by studying the communication networks within cities. Then for production and communication also we have certain kind of recycling networks, the producers and influential people's network, where the marketing agents, the management, they can analyze these networks and try to target those people, those consumers that can spread their launch of new products and all. For climate action, which is a very important goal of the sustainable development, we can have different networks, like even the transportation network also can be taken in this case, where we can find out the hotspot areas, the bottleneck areas, the checkpoints and all, where we can find out the heavily congested areas which are in turn causing pollution in the weather, and we can suggest or recommend the higher authorities to install air purification devices at those places. So there could be this ecosystem network in conjunction with the transportation network, and we can come up with some hybrid solution for climate action. Then there are goals like life below water. So for this we can analyze the fishing network, and we can analyze them to prevent the overfishing problem, and therefore monitor the marine ecosystems and protect the biodiversity. Similarly, there could be the terrestrial life on the land. So for this we can analyze the ecological network. We can identify the key sites or the critical species that are there in these kind of land corridors and help them conserving. There is this very important aspect of SDG that is centered around peace, justice and strong institution. In the physical networks, there are the criminal networks, there are corruption networks, and by evaluating these networks, we can track the illegal dealings and the people who are into such kind of temporal activities, illegal activities. So monitoring, tracking these kind of things can be done when we have the networked data of such aspects. Then even for the social network, for a particular trend, we can generate the networks through different types of API based programming. So for example, the platforms like Twitter, Facebook and many more, they give some restricted flow of information which we can use for research purpose through APIs and all, and try to see that is there a possibility that some kind of fake news is being propagated in the online communities, because these online communities in today's social network are very powerful. So they can build some false misconception in the society, and therefore it can lead to chaos as well. So analyzing such networks, we can help the authorities to enact laws and propose certain peace building initiatives. The partnerships, now the partnerships are specifically for the key stakeholders and the influential actors in specific to the collaboration or the corporate networks. So they help to understand how a shared objective can be achieved with the help of some cost benefit analysis. So throughout this 17 SDG goals, we have seen that there could be networks throughout. So it's up to us that how we are constructing the network and trying to apply these network science techniques that we will shortly see, and have different perspectives drawn out of our study. Now we have seen the 17 SDGs. Now let's see network science from the methodology part. So network science can be the information diffusion methods, that is how the information is spreading in the online communities. So different types of diffusion models are available, the epidemic models, the cascade models, okay, and many more. Then there is this link prediction and cost benefit analysis. So in the production networks, we have just discussed that we can perform the cost benefit utility analysis and see that whether two companies are who are connected presently, will they be remain connected in the future if their cost incurred is less. If the maintenance in building the relation is less, then the link prediction algorithms can be used to predict whether two companies or any two real world objects or entities will remain connected in the future or not. Or maybe in otherwise also we can see that if two entities that are not connected and their friends are connected with each other, then is there a possibility that in future the link or the interaction is possible to evolve between these two unconnected objects or nodes. So there are a variety of link prediction algorithms for this to support the network science structure. Then we have community detection techniques to find out the connected communities, the core communities in the virtual space. There could be graph traversal methods that helps you to find out the alternate routes in a transportation network. Then there are centrality measures that helps you to find out who are the central actors in a particular network. And one more very important topic, that is graph machine learning, wherein the machine learning, that is the AI part, is being studied in conjunction with the network science methods. And this in turn will help to give more predictability, and also will help the administration or the end users to understand how recommendations can be given based on the present scenario. Now let's understand one of these techniques that we have just discovered and detail on the centrality matrices. Now what are centrality matrices? These are one of the method of network science that helps you to identify the key influences. So the first one, very benchmark centrality, is associated with the degree of the node, also called the degree centrality. So in this graph, you can see that given a particular node, if we are counting the number of direct associations, then it becomes the measure of the degree of that node, or you can say the association degree of the node. And we can normalize this particular metric by dividing it with a constant, that is n minus 1. N is the total number of nodes in the network. And why minus 1? Because this 1 is that node for which we are finding out the degree centrality. So some of the values are calculated at the end. You can just see in context with the graph that degree D3 is computed as 4 divided by 14. Why 14? Because 14 is the total number of nodes minus 1, and 4 is the direct association of the node 3. So this way one can compute the degree centrality of all the nodes in the network. Now, why this normalization is required? Normalization is required because it gives you a uniform scaling so that you can compare other centralities also in the same platform. The next one is closeness centrality. In closeness centrality, we try to see the positioning of the node rather than the direct associations. So, a node that is positioned more central in the networked graph is more likely to spread the news uniformly throughout the network. So, we can say that node that is twice as far is half as central. A node that is lying in the boundary of a network is very unlikely that it will spread the news or any concept or any content uniformly in the network. So, this is the formula for the closeness centrality. So, the formula is basically in the denominator. It is 1 upon the summation of the length of the shortest paths between any two pair of nodes. Okay. And since we have the metric in the denominator, so now the normalization factor will be on the numerator, and it is again the same, it is n minus 1, that is total number of nodes minus 1. Now, since you can see for both the centrality measures, the degree centrality and the closeness centrality, our normalization factor is of degree 1. We are not taking the higher degree of n, right? Why? Because that for the calculation of the closeness or the degree, we are only taking into consideration one node at a time. In the next centrality, we are taking two nodes at a time to compute the betweenness of a particular node. So, in this case, the degree of the normalization will increase to 2. Now, let us understand first what is betweenness centrality. It is the measure of the centrality in terms of how good a node is acting as a bridge or an intermediate connection, or you can say a gateway in a communication network. So, this is the formula that is for betweenness centrality we often use. So, here the formula is on the numerator, so the normalization will come in the denominator. And since we are taking two nodes at a time, so this normalization will be n minus 1 C2. C is the combinations, so it is basically called n minus 1 C2. Okay. And what is this ratio all about in the numerator? Let us understand that. Mathematically speaking, the betweenness of a node H, any node H, is expressed as the ratio of the total number of shortest paths between a pair of node that contains the node H divided by the total number of nodes that are existent in the network. So, using these centrality measures, we can find out the different ways in which the influential or the central nodes can be identified. So, in the coming lectures of network science, we will explore more. As of now, thank you.